At a casual dinner with friends, Adrian's best friend asked him in French, "The understanding little flower you keep on the side is 2 months pregnant. What are you going to do about it?" Adrian hooked the corner of his mouth, considerately peeling a grilled prawn and placing it on my plate. Only then did he answer in French, "Lily doesn't like children. I'll let Chloe carry the baby to term, raise it abroad, call it leaving an heir." I chewed the grilled prawn, yet tears slipped down my cheeks. Adrian asked anxiously, "Lily, what's wrong?" I wiped the tears away and smiled. "The dipping sauce for the prawns is too spicy." But the dipping sauce was only soy sauce. The tears were because I understood every word of French. Maybe Adrian had forgotten I'd been the star student of the French department, and he had learned French just so he could court me more easily. My thoughts snapped back. I realized Adrian was leaning against the table, watching me. "Sweetheart, what are you thinking about?" I looked back but said nothing, reaching for the pitcher of lemon iced tea to pour myself a glass. The moment my fingers touched the handle, Adrian snatched it away. "Sweetheart, why would you trouble yourself with such little things?" He poured the tea for me. His friend Connor sat opposite, covering a toothache as he teased, "Could you two lovebirds save the PDA for somewhere private? You're going to sour this single dog to death." Adrian shot him a glance and tugged a lazy smile. "I'm whipped." "You just found out? If you can't stand it, choke on it." Fine, I'll just eat." Connor played the good grandson, but his eyes broadcast the words "can't wait for the show" in neon. I tilted my head slightly, meeting his gaze. The warmth that used to live in my eyes was gone. Adrian didn't notice. He leaned in, kissed my lips, and asked tenderly, "What is it, baby? Staring at your husband like you're spellbound?" "Yeah. I want a good look at a man who supposedly loves me so much, see if he has a wandering heart." Adrian froze, a flash of alarm in his eyes, but he reassembled his composure quickly. When he looked at me again, his gaze was so devoted it threatened to drown me. "Sweetheart, don't joke like that. I couldn't survive the consequence of you leaving me." I lowered my lashes in a soft laugh and pulled my hand free from where he'd pressed it over his heart. So he still remembered what I'd once told him. When I agreed to be with him, my single condition had been loyalty. I had said, "If I ever find out you're unfaithful, I will never forgive you." Back then Adrian's eyes had been full of only me. When he heard it, he'd grabbed my hand and sworn, "Lily, you're the treasure I chased for a whole year. I'll never do anything that breaks your heart. If I ever do, let me die alone." True, because of my looks, I'd never lacked suitors. From the first moment Adrian saw me, he vowed he would win me. My first love had shattered me, so I'd always resisted love. But in the end Adrian moved me, and I gave him one chance. 4 months ago, though, I discovered he was keeping a young girl on the side. The belief that true love actually existed collapsed in an instant. I thought I'd confront him in screams and tears, yet I was eerily calm. Calmly I stayed beside him, calmly endured withdrawal, calmly mapped out the rest of my life. At last, in one more week, my visa would arrive. Then I could leave Adrian and begin a new life of my own. After dinner, a tipsy Adrian rested his head on my shoulder. "Sweetheart, let's go home." Connor trailed behind us and shouted, "Adrian, you skipping the next stop? Everyone's waiting for us." Adrian didn't even turn, still clinging to me. He refused without hesitation. "Not going. My wife needs her meds, I'm taking her home." Connor clicked his tongue and gave up. Just then a text landed on my phone. "Lily, guess tonight, will Adrian go home with you for your meds, or come party with me?" My eyes fixed on the screen. Adrian noticed my pause and glanced over. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" I darkened the screen and said deliberately, "Nothing, just some bait from the other." Adrian's brows drew together, he reached for my phone. At that instant his own rang. It was Chloe's personal ringtone. I offered my phone to him. "Still want to look?" Adrian stared at me, his gaze trembling. "Sweetheart, I'm drunk. Don't tease me." He nuzzled my neck coquettishly. I pushed his head away and said evenly, "Answer it, it's been ringing forever." Only then did he straighten, about to say he'd step aside to talk. Before he could speak, I had already walked toward the driver waiting at the main door. A flicker of surprise crossed Adrian's eyes, but once he heard the sweet voice on the line, he was instantly himself again. Through the car window I could see the joy lighting his face, his eyes clear and bright, no trace of drunkenness left. I looked away and forced down the sourness in my chest. I knew he wouldn't be coming home with me tonight. Sure enough, after he hung up, Chloe's message arrived. "You lost, Lily. Right now the person Adrian cares about most is me, and our baby. A tear rolled down my cheek. The second Adrian opened the door and glanced in, I quickly turned my head. He climbed in and tried to turn my face toward him. "Sweetheart, what's the matter?" His worried tone stabbed at me. I drew a slow breath, lowered my lashes to hide the hurt, and said offhandedly, "I'm tired." "Are you coming home with me?" Adrian smiled and ruffled my hair. "I wish I could, but the company needs me for something urgent." "I'll come back early, okay? Don't be unhappy." As he spoke he cupped my face, leaning in to kiss me. I pressed a fingertip to his lips and looked past him at Connor outside. "Someone's filming. Save it, go on." I shoved Adrian out, locked the door, and told the driver to pull away. About 2 minutes later Chloe called. "Lily, doesn't kissing Adrian disgust you? He's kissed every inch of me, including." She left the rest unspoken, only laughed nastily. My hand shook as I ended the call and asked the driver to stop by the curb. Holding the railing, I vomited until the world spun. It was past midnight and Adrian still hadn't come home. I checked my phone repeatedly. Chloe hadn't sent any fresh taunts. There was only one explanation: the two of them were tangled in the sheets. I gave a bitter laugh, slid out of bed barefoot, and gathered every gift Adrian had ever given me. Staring at the expensive pile, I felt dazed. I remembered that after we got together, anything I liked, even if I merely glanced at it, he would buy and present to me. I'd believed such thoughtfulness made me the happiest woman alive. But now, I opened an app and scheduled a courier to deliver everything to Chloe in a week. Since his heart had split, these things might as well go to the one he loves most. I was snipping the tailored suit I'd given Adrian when he walked in. He called my name from the bedroom. I answered but didn't stop cutting. Adrian followed the sound into the walk-in closet, the takeout box in his hand almost slipping from his grip. "Sweetheart." He hurried over, knelt, and seized my wrist. "What are you doing?" I tilted my head to look at him. Adrian's face was bloodless, his eyes wide with disbelief. I curved my lips in a smile and gently pushed his hand away. 3 stray kittens turned up in the little garden. I want to use this shirt to make them a bed." Adrian pressed his mouth into a hard line. Only after a long moment did he speak. "But, darling, this is the only gift you ever gave me. I never even wear it, it's too special." I lowered my gaze and kept cutting the cloth in my hands. How could I not know it was the only present I had ever given him? I was doing it on purpose. Adrian kept his eyes fixed on what I was doing. After another stretch of silence he said, "Lily, you're cutting up my gift. You'll have to give me a new one." I lifted my eyes, smiling brightly. "All right. Actually, I've got 2 gifts ready for you." Light exploded in Adrian's eyes. He gathered me into his arms. "Darling, you really prepared something for me?" "Where?" Listening to the excitement in his voice, cold spread through me like frost. I didn't push him away. Instead, I looked past him at the food box on the counter. Fragrance drifted from it. He had brought me seafood congee. Because I'd always been frail, whenever he made me unhappy or felt guilty, he would drive halfway across the city to buy the seafood congee I loved. So tonight Chloe must have put him in a spectacularly good mood, good enough that at 1 in the morning he had still detoured to fetch it. I gave a soft, self-mocking laugh. "Wait. You'll know in a week." Adrian didn't press. He simply led me to the dining table. He opened the box and set the congee before me, eyes avoiding mine. "Lily, you barely ate tonight. You must be starving, have some supper." I stirred it slowly with a spoon, and the moment he turned to pour water I deliberately tipped the whole container over. When Adrian looked back and saw the mess, he rushed to check whether I'd been burned. I watched him with cold detachment. When he met my gaze he froze, fingers curling tight. "It's okay, Lily. If you still want it, I'll go buy you a fresh bowl first thing tomorrow." I could feel him trembling. Once, I would have been heartbroken to see him humble himself like this. I would have thrown my arms around him and murmured endearments. Now I only stood up calmly. "Don't bother. My tastes have changed. I don't like seafood congee anymore. And I don't like you anymore." Adrian didn't know what was wrong, but he sensed the shift. For the next 2 days he stayed at my side every minute. Sterling Global had been back on its feet barely 6 months. I had watched step by step how hard he had fought to reach this point. In those years he'd had little time for me. I had supported him and understood. Still, how could I not long for him to stay with me? Before, if he had cleared his calendar just to be with me, I would have been over the moon. Now, seeing him next to me only made my head ache. Although Chloe's personal ringtone kept sounding on his phone, he neither answered nor left. My departure date was approaching, yet the divorce papers were still unsigned. I had to resort to tactics I once despised. I changed into a barely there silk slip dress, leaned against Adrian in deliberately provocative poses, and snapped dozens of ambiguous photos, every one of which I sent to Chloe. Sure enough, his phone rang again the next second. He tried to decline. I held his hand and accepted the call for him. Adrian whipped his head toward me. Lily, I looked straight at him. Answer it. What if it's urgent? He muted the call and tried several times to speak, but when I remained unruffled he finally said, I'll take this in the other room. I'll be right back. I crunched chips at the table, ears tuned to his voice. I could just make out Chloe sobbing while Adrian soothed her. When the call ended he walked back, hesitation written across his face. I spoke first, considerate as always. If you need to go, go. You don't have to babysit me. He exhaled, yet his fingers stayed clamped around the phone. Lily, please don't be angry. The company is only just. I cut him off gently. I understand. Go. Before leaving he looked me in the eye and said solemnly, give me 1 week to sort some things out. Then I'll take leave and we'll finally travel to that Hilltown retreat you keep talking about. Ellis, before my parents died, they took me to live in Provence for a while, so the place always feels like home to me. After Adrian and I married I brought it up countless times, but he always said he was too busy. Yet I'd seen Chloe's Instagram posts. Adrian had already taken her to Provence. And in 1 week Chloe's baby would hit the 3-month mark. Once the fetus was stable, Adrian finally felt free to vacation with me, but I no longer needed the trip. I lowered my eyes, smiled, and nodded anyway. The instant he left, Chloe's taunt arrived. Lily, no matter how slutty you act, Adrian still chooses me. I didn't bother to reply. While Adrian was still on the road, I opened negotiations with her. Chloe, you want to be Mrs. Sterling, don't you? Do me a favor and I'll step aside. Chloe was delighted. Afraid I'd renege, she began flooding me with photos the moment Adrian reached her. Every intimate shot of the two of them, one after another. I saved them all. At 10 that night Adrian stumbled home, drunk, draping himself over me to apologize. Marks that weren't mine littered his neck and shirt. I stroked his hair with uncharacteristic patience. Seeing me like this, his eyes actually filled with tears. Darling, you're so good to me. If you wanted stars I'd pluck them from the sky. My gaze sharpened, this was the moment. I slid the divorce papers in front of him and coaxed him to sign. He set down the pen, blinking. Darling, what is this? I whisked the papers away and laughed. A check, of course. Didn't you say you'd give me the stars? Even drunk, Adrian retained the instincts of a CEO. To trick him into signing I had to play the emotion card, keep him drowning in sentiment so he wouldn't think. I almost laughed, cheap trick, but it worked. I wondered what would happen when he sobered up and learned the truth. I tucked the divorce papers into the custom pink safe I'd ordered, planning to present it to him as a gift before I left. Then I placed the safe in the most conspicuous spot in the bedroom to stoke his anticipation. When everything was ready I sat cross-legged on the rug beside the couch where he lay unconscious and began sorting every photo and video Chloe had sent. Half asleep, Adrian heard the rustle of papers and reached for me. Darling, what are you doing? Come cuddle me. Looking at him acting cute, nausea rose in my throat. I clamped a hand over my mouth and ran to the ground floor bathroom. I retched until bitter bile came up, then leaned against the tile, astonished at myself. Had I really grown so disgusted by Adrian's touch? He jolted fully awake at the commotion. Staggering, he rushed into the bathroom, anxiously checking that I was all right. When he saw nothing worse than my pale face, he finally exhaled. Baby, what's wrong? You felt off lately. He crushed me against him, arms cinching tighter and tighter. The reek of alcohol and mingled perfumes turned my stomach. Let go. I can't stand perfume. Adrian froze, eyes flickering. I forced a smile. Why that face? Anyone would think you'd done something awful. He grew frantic, gripping my shoulders. I haven't, I'd never. His babbling was almost funny. I cut him off, lying through my teeth. I believe you. Go back to sleep. In bed he held me like a vice. No matter how I squirmed, he wouldn't loosen. Afraid suspicion would wreck my plan, I quit resisting. Swallowing the nausea, I stared at the black window and counted, hypnotizing myself. I could have walked out the moment the divorce papers were signed, but Adrian was now powerful and far less soft than before. With his obsession, if I didn't escape cleanly the first time, I'd never get a second chance. My visa wouldn't arrive for 2 more days. Until then, waiting was the only option. At sunrise, Adrian didn't rush off. He lay still, watching me wake. The instant my eyes opened, he leaned in and kissed me. I shoved him away. I haven't brushed, gross. He studied my little pout, laughed softly. There you are, my old Lily. That approval suited me fine. The less guarded he felt, the better. 2 days, and I'd be free. I coaxed Adrian to the office by pointing at the pink safe. You wanted a surprise? It's in there. Slack off and I'll destroy it. His eyes lit up. He fiddled with the lock, couldn't crack it, and pleaded for the code. I refused. Out of options, he obeyed and headed to work. Before leaving, he double-checked. You'll give me the code in 2 days, right? I nodded. Of course. I hope you'll love it. I'll love anything from Lily, he said, dead serious. I smiled without answering, already mourning the spectacular show I'd miss when he learned the truth. Once he was gone, I drove to the women's clinic, only to bump into Chloe, here for her prenatal checkup. Her small bump glowed under her smug smile. Hey, legitimate, what a coincidence. Fertility issues? The taunt didn't sting, she wasn't wrong. Conceiving was hard, ever since I'd dived into an icy lake to save Adrian and wrecked my health. I'd hidden the truth so he wouldn't feel guilty, letting him believe I simply disliked kids. I shrugged and walked toward the doctor. Chloe trailed me, watched me discuss the procedure, then print the termination certificate. When I stepped out with the paperwork, shock slackened her face. Lily, you. I handed her the sheet. The day I found out about you too was the day I learned I was pregnant. I thought it over. I can't forgive him, child or not. Instead of sneering, she eyed me with odd curiosity. I slid the certificate back into my folder. Tomorrow night I'm gone. Keep him busy for 48 hours and give me peace. After verifying I wasn't bluffing, she nodded. Thanks, I said, already turning away. Lily, don't you hate me? She blurted. I paused, laughing. Hate you? There'd just be another girl after you. A cheater cheats, the name changes, not the game. Still, thank you, Chloe. You taught me nothing matters more than loving myself. Thanks to Chloe's clingy charms, Adrian never came home. He texted twice. Lily, pulling an all-nighter. I'll bring your favorite new seafood congee flavor when I'm back. Don't stay up, baby. I'll be thinking of you. I deleted the nauseating lines without blinking. Minutes later, Chloe bombarded me with photos. 1. Candlelit dinner for 2. 2. Adrian at her prenatal bonding session. 3. Them tangled in her sheets. 4. Him bathing her afterward. 5. The moment he lost control in the tub. I scrolled through the living porn, calm as ever, then stitched the clips into a little receipt video and emailed it to myself, scheduled for tomorrow at 7 p.m. to both Adrian and Chloe. I figured they'd adore my cinematic tribute to their love. What I didn't expect was Adrian bursting in at midnight while I was finishing my packing. He rushed in, chilled from outside, and crushed me in his arms. Baby, I've had this awful feeling all night, like something's about to vanish. I missed you. His voice was thick, his grip crushing. I pried myself free. You're just overworked. I handed him the excuse, but he couldn't meet my eyes. He clutched my hand. I cleared my calendar. Starting tomorrow I'm home with you. My pulse spiked. Had he caught on? Before I could speak he whispered, promise you'll never leave me, Lily. Swear it. Hope blazed in his gaze, bright and terrifying. I frowned slightly, not knowing how to begin. I still remembered that back when we were in the heat of love, Adrian had made me promise again and again that I would never leave him. At the time my heart ached for him, needing to ask for reassurance. To let him feel safe, I promised over and over. As long as he didn't betray me, I would stay by his side and love him all my life. Babe, what on earth is wrong? Why won't you say anything? Tears shimmered in Adrian's eyes as he stared unblinking into mine. I lowered my gaze and sighed. Adrian, I'm still saying the same thing. So long as you don't betray me, I'll love you forever. He didn't press further, he just hugged me tight. Muffling his voice against my shoulder, he said, Babe, I swear I'll never do anything to hurt you. I can't stand the thought of you leaving. I just can't. His voice was low, forceful. I found it laughable. I wondered whether those words were meant for my ears or to reassure himself. The next day my departure hour drew near, yet Adrian still showed no sign of leaving the apartment. I felt stifled and finally called Chloe. I need to ask another favor. I'd barely hung up when Adrian's phone started ringing. After 3 or 4 repetitions he finally answered with irritation. When the call ended he walked toward me, expression grave. Hesitating, he began, "Lily, I lifted my gaze and said evenly, "Go ahead, go take care of it." Maybe his instinct sensed something. All morning on his way out he kept repeating, "Babe, wait for me at home. I'll be back soon." He kept looking back at me, reluctant, so I got up and walked him outside. "Go on, I'll be here waiting." Only then did he drive off. I watched until his car vanished round the corner before I turned back. I slid the termination certificate and the divorce papers together into the pink safe, then texted him the combination. "Come home and look at your present." He replied instantly, "Okay, babe, wait for me. I'll be right back." I didn't answer. I simply wheeled the suitcase I had prepared long ago straight to the airport. Just before boarding, the receipt video I'd finished editing sent successfully. As Adrian's calls began flooding in, I pulled the SIM card, snapped it in half, and, without a backward glance, boarded the flight to France. Meanwhile Adrian sat frozen in his car, staring at the video on his phone. Frame by frame it showed every stage of his involvement with Chloe, right up to yesterday. The sender, his beloved wife, Lily. He snapped his head toward Chloe and roared, "You dared to contact Lily behind my back. Did you forget every rule I set when we started?" Chloe shrank into the corner, sobbing, "Adrian, please don't be angry. The baby and I can't take this kind of scare." His breath came in ragged bursts. Every unusual thing Lily had done lately replayed in his mind like a film. A sense of dread surged. He kicked Chloe out of the passenger seat, his eyes blade sharp. "If anything happens to Lily, Chloe, I swear you'll pay with your life." He slammed the accelerator and shot toward home. Lily's phone stayed unreachable. His heart cramped tighter the faster he drove. When he burst through the door the apartment was empty, the usual clutter gone, echoes bounced off the walls. All warmth drained from his veins. He refused to believe Lily had left. With bloodshot eyes he searched every corner, calling her name. At last he spotted the pink safe. He opened it with trembling hope. When he saw the 2 items inside, his legs gave way. Tears streamed down as he clutched the termination certificate to his chest and sobbed. Overwhelming regret crashed over him. Crumpling the paper in his fist, he screamed, "Lily, where are you? Come back, please. I know I was wrong." The shove he'd given Chloe sent her to the hospital, miscarrying. From the ambulance she rang him. Hearing her voice, hatred scorched him. "Chloe, you deserved it. You should rot in hell. If not for her, Lily would never have left." Across the ocean, the moment my flight touched French soil I ran straight to my childhood friend Tiffany. Years had passed. I'd expected awkwardness, but Tiffany wouldn't allow it, chattering nonstop about every bit of news until finally asking, "Lily, what are you planning to do in France?" I'd mapped it out long ago. I had been a rising indie singer, but after marrying Adrian I stepped away to keep him company. Once I saw through love, I decided to reclaim my voice. With Tiffany's help I opened a small studio. Free of distractions, inspiration surged. Within a month I released 2 singles. Both caught modest fire. A pocket of fans began leaving enthusiastic comments on the streaming platform. Reading those warm messages each day convinced me life held promise again. Walking away and starting over had been the right choice. Just as I began to enjoy my new rhythm, Adrian re-entered my world. That night I'd worked late and was carrying wonton soup home when I sensed someone tailing me. Before I could dial the police I was pulled into a familiar scented embrace. I stiffened. Neither of us spoke. Soon I felt wetness on my neck. He was crying silently. Disgusted, I tried to push him away, but his arms only tightened, as if he meant to fuse me to his bones. "Lily, I finally found you," he muttered, voice shaking with relief. I shoved free and slapped him hard. "Adrian, you saw everything I sent. How dare you show your face?" His head snapped sideways, the red outline of my hand blooming on his cheek, yet he kept stepping closer. "Come home with me, okay? Once we're back you can hit me, curse me, whatever you want, I won't fight back." Eyes crimson, he spoke in a fragile whisper. I matched him step for step backward, jaw clenched. "If you possess even a shred of humanity, if you remember 1 ounce of how good I was to you, then for God's sake let me go. Come home, Lily." He seemed not to hear, gaze locked on me, tears streaming, sorrow brimming over. I stopped and studied him. Had I seen this look before discovering the affair, I'd have melted. Now it felt like justice served. I planted both palms on his chest and pushed him away, enunciating each word. Adrian, where we are now, you built this misery alone. I warned you once, seems you forgot every syllable, so let me refresh your memory. Adrian, if you ever betray me, I will never forgive you. Under my glacial stare, Adrian finally cracked. He turned away, unable to look at me, but the tremor in his shoulders gave him away. He wasn't calm at all, he was burning inside. That had nothing to do with me, he'd lit the fire himself. I spun on my heel and left. Adrian followed like a ghost, dragging his shadow behind mine. I meant to ignore him, but when he tried to push inside my apartment, I snapped. I slapped him a second time. Adrian, how can you be so shameless? The biggest regret of my 20-odd years is ever meeting you. He caught my wrist before I could lower it, begging in a broken voice. Lily, I was wrong. Please, one more chance. Let me prove it. Please. I wrenched free and shoved him past the threshold. Adrian, how dare you ask for forgiveness? When you cheated, did you ever think how much it would hurt me? I wasn't finished, but he jumped in. I did, Lily, I did. I thought. You thought what? That I was some barren hen? That if you covered your tracks I'd never find out? Each question drove him back a step. His tears fell like rainwater from a broken gutter. In all our years together I'd never seen him cry like this. Now that I'd gladly handed Mrs. Sterling's crown to his new favorite, what did he have left to weep about? I looked away. Stop the act, Adrian. You never loved me, only yourself. I love you. You're the only one in this world I love. His eyes were bloodshot. I know I'm a bastard. I gambled that I could hide it forever. Lily, I swear I know I was wrong. I made Chloe end the pregnancy. Come home, let's start over, make our own baby. I laughed, cold and hollow. Adrian, you really thought I didn't want children? Well, listen, we never conceived because I dove into an icy river to save you and ruined my womb. That's why pregnancy is hard for me. Lily, his tears blurred the words. What did you say? I repeated every syllable, then finished. You don't deserve the truth. You don't deserve anything. The door slammed in his face. He swayed like a man on a storm-battered deck. For days he trailed me. I warned him, disappear, or I'd forward the receipt video of him and Chloe to every board member of Sterling Global. He said nothing, just stared at me with devastated eyes. I hit send anyway. The scandal detonated. Sterling Global spiraled toward bankruptcy. Adrian had to fly back to salvage what he could. Before he left he whispered, even if you never forgive me, I won't give up. When the company is safe, I'll move to France and stay near you for the rest of my life. I knew words were pointless, so I applied for a visa to another country. 3 days after it was issued, Chloe called. Because of you I can never have children. Adrian is mine. If he dies beside me. Her shriek left a bad premonition quelled in my gut. Soon a friend from home rang. Adrian had sold Sterling Global at a fire sale price. On the way to the airport a speeding car T-boned his. The driver died on impact. Adrian survived, barely, and might lose both legs. I arched an eyebrow, murmured noted, and said nothing more. The line clicked off on a sigh from the friend who'd watched our story from prologue to epilogue. After that, my days leveled into quiet waves. A week later, hunched over a mixing console in the recording studio, I watched my phone flash with one domestic call after another. I stepped into the corridor to answer. Eleanor's sobs flooded my ear. Lily, I know I shouldn't call, but Adrian is dying. The doctors say he's lost the will to live. He's my only child, please, come see him. Her grief nudged something inside me. Though my marriage was ash, Eleanor and Richard had always treated me like the daughter they'd never had, letting me pretend for an instant that my own parents still breathed. I wavered, until a sharp cry told me Richard had collapsed under the news. I booked a flight. Tiffany saw me off with a hug. Go for the elders, not the ghosts. No baggage allowed. I landed, hailed a cab straight to the hospital. Eleanor met me at the ICU, her gentle face aged a decade in days. She pressed my palms together, begging me to talk through the glass. Adrian lay webbed in tubes, a ventilator sighing for him. I recited ordinary memories, our first coffee, the stray kittens we fed, the Hilltown retreat where we sang off-key duets at dawn, anything to stitch him back to life. After a week the doctors reported his vitals stabilizing. The death wish had loosened its grip. Eleanor wept against my shoulder. I patted her, hollow-eyed. When he opened his eyes they transferred him to a regular room. Eleanor ushered me in, but Adrian twisted his face to the wall and croaked, "Leave, I don't want her here." His mother pleaded, he didn't budge. I shrugged, wished the Sterlings peace, and caught the evening flight back to France. As the wheels kissed the runway in Provence, a text lit the screen. Lily, I'm sorry, what's left of me is the price I pay. I won't haunt you anymore. Just, don't forget me too quickly. I deleted the message, ejected the SIM card, and let it fall into the airport trash. For the first time, tomorrow smelled of nothing but possibility. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If it moved you, please like and share, and drop your thoughts below. Subscribe for more. Until next time, goodbye.